The royal ship shuddered as another blast struck its shields. Princess Luna gripped her command chair tightly, her crystalline skin reflecting the red emergency lights that flooded the bridge. Blood trickled from a cut on her forehead, its deep blue color stark against her translucent features. "Your Highness, the shields are at 15%. The last remaining crew member, Officer Bright, called out from his station. His voice trembled as he worked frantically at the controls. "We cannot take another direct hit." Luna knew they were right. The coup had caught them completely off guard. What was supposed to be a routine inspection of the outer colonies had turned into a desperate fight for survival. Her uncle, Lord Stone, had finally made his move for the throne, and he had chosen his moment perfectly. The ship rocked again as their pursuers landed another glancing blow. Warning signals blared throughout the vessel, their harsh tones echoing through the empty corridors where loyal crew members had once stood. Now they were gone, either dead or trapped in emergency stasis after the first surprise attack. "Plot a course away from Imperial space," Luna commanded, her voice steady despite her fear. Years of royal training helped her maintain her composure, even as her world fell apart around her. "We need to break free of their tracking range." Officer Bright's hands flew over the controls. "Your Highness, the only open vector leads into the forbidden zones. The nearest system is Earth space." He hesitated, knowing what that meant. The humans were strictly off-limits according to Imperial law, their civilization deemed too unpredictable and dangerous to contact. Another hit rocked the ship. The lights flickered, and several control panels exploded in a shower of sparks. Luna was thrown from her chair, landing hard on the crystalline floor. She pulled herself up, making a quick decision that would change not only her fate but the future of two civilizations. "Take us in," she ordered. "Better the humans than my uncle's executioners." The ship turned sharply, its engines straining as Officer Bright pushed them to maximum speed. Behind them, 3 sleek Imperial hunters followed, their weapons charging for another barrage. The stars blurred as they accelerated, pushing deep into the forbidden zone. Then disaster struck. A direct hit to their engine core sent cascading failures through the ship's systems. The bridge went dark, emergency power barely maintaining life support. Officer Bright's console erupted in flames, and Luna watched in horror as her last loyal crew member slumped over his station, unconscious or worse. She rushed to his side, checking for signs of life. He was breathing, but barely. With trembling hands, she activated his emergency stasis field, watching as the crystalline energy encased him in a protective cocoon. At least he would have a chance to survive. Luna returned to the main console, her royal training including enough emergency protocols to operate the basic systems. The pursuing ships had stopped firing, probably thinking them dead in space, but she knew better. Her uncle would want proof of her death. They would board soon. The emergency scanner showed her something unexpected, a small solar system, just within range. Earth space, primitive by Imperial standards, but her only hope. With the last reserves of power, she activated the emergency beacon, broadcasting on all frequencies. "This is..." She hesitated, then continued. "This is a distress call to any ships in range. Our vessel is critically damaged. One survivor in need of immediate assistance. Please respond." It was forbidden. Contact with humans broke a dozen Imperial laws. But as she looked at the approaching Imperial ships on her scanner, Luna knew she had no choice. Better to die trying something new than suffer whatever fate her uncle had planned. The last of the power cells failed, leaving her in darkness. Luna sat in her command chair, watching the stars through the forward viewport. Her crystalline hands glowed faintly in the darkness, a reminder of how alien she would appear to any humans who answered her call. "Please," she whispered to the void, "let someone find me." In the distance, the Imperial ships drew closer, their lights growing brighter against the starlit backdrop of space. James Reeve floated in the cockpit of his salvage ship, Star Runner, his boots propped up on the control panel as he finished his coffee. 10 years after leaving Earth's special forces, he had found peace in the quiet life of a space salvager. The small ship might not have been much, but it was home. The radar's sudden beeping jolted him from his relaxed state. James straightened in his chair, setting aside his coffee mug in the zero-gravity cup holder. His eyes narrowed at the emergency signal flashing on his screen. "That's odd," he muttered, tapping the display. The distress call used no known human frequencies. After 15 years in space, first as a soldier and then as a salvager, he had never seen anything quite like it. The ship's computer translated the signal's basic message: "One survivor, critical damage, urgent help needed." But the energy signature was like nothing in his database. James ran his hand through his short gray hair, weighing his options. Earth Space Command had strict rules about unknown contacts. Standard procedure was to report and avoid. He had seen too many good pilots lose their licenses chasing mystery signals, but something about this one felt different. James checked his tactical display. He was the only ship within range, if someone really needed help out there. "Computer, show me the signal source," he commanded. The screen shifted, displaying a damaged vessel drifting in space. Its design was completely alien: sleek, crystalline surfaces that seemed to glow from within. Behind it, 3 larger ships approached slowly, their designs matching the damaged vessel. James's military training kicked in. He recognized a hunt when he saw one. "Computer, full scan of pursuing vessels." The results made his eyes widen. The energy readings were off the charts, weapon systems far beyond anything humans had developed. This wasn't some simple space pirate chase. This was something else entirely. As he watched, one of the pursuing ships fired a warning shot across the damaged vessel's bow. The energy beam lit up his sensors with readings that shouldn't have been possible. "Well," James said, reaching for the ship's controls, "looks like retirement's getting interesting." He activated the Star Runner's engines, keeping the power low to avoid detection. His ship might have been small, but he had modified it with everything he had learned in special forces: enhanced stealth systems, reinforced shields, and a few surprises he had never registered with Earth authorities. The pursuing ships hadn't noticed him yet. Their focus was entirely on their prey. James used this to his advantage, maneuvering behind a cluster of asteroids as he approached. His heart beat faster, but his hands were steady on the controls. This was familiar territory, just like the old days in the service. "Computer, prepare emergency docking procedures," he ordered, already planning his approach. "And warm up the medical bay. Something tells me we're going to need it." A warning flashed on his screen. "TONTACT with UNKNODUN vessels violates Earth space. Command Diary CTIV 147. James smiled slightly. "Override warnings. Authorization read 7 Delta." The warning disappeared. Some rules were meant to be broken, especially when lives were at stake. He reached under his seat and pulled out his old combat suit. The black armor still fit perfectly, its systems coming online as he sealed the helmet. If this turned into a rescue mission, he wanted to be ready for anything. The pursuing ships were closing in on their target. Soon, they would be in boarding range. James checked his weapons, made sure his ship's systems were ready, and took a deep breath. "All right," he said to himself. "Let's go make some new friends." Star Runner's engines hummed to life as James pushed them to full power. Sometimes the right thing and the smart thing weren't the same. Today, he was choosing right. Ahead of him, the alien ships loomed larger in his viewport, unaware that a human warrior was about to change everything. James Reed's Star Runner shot through space like a bullet. The 3 alien ships were so focused on their target that they didn't notice him until it was too late. He fired his engines at full power, releasing a cloud of magnetic debris behind him. An old Special Forces trick that played havoc with advanced sensors. "Let's see how you like flying blind," he muttered, watching as the pursuing ships' formations broke apart, their sensors scrambled by the magnetic cloud. Their crystal-like hulls glowed with angry red energy as they tried to target him. The damaged ship lay ahead, its once beautiful form now scared by weapon fire. James guided his vessel toward it, dodging energy beams from the confused pursuers. His smaller ship's size was an advantage. He could move faster, turn sharper, and slip through gaps the larger ships couldn't follow. "Computer, scan for life signs," he ordered, bringing Star Runner alongside the damaged vessel. The scan showed one life form on the bridge, but its readings were unlike anything he had seen before. A blast from one of the pursuing ships rocked his ship. James gritted his teeth, activating his emergency shields. "Computer, begin docking sequence, and give me ship-to-ship communications." He took a deep breath and spoke clearly. "Damaged vessel, this is James Reed of the Star Runner. I'm here to help. Prepare for emergency docking." The response came in strange, musical tones that his computer quickly translated. "Warning, unknown being. Our systems are failing. Cannot guarantee safe docking." "Trust me," James replied, guiding his ship into position. "I've done this before." The docking wasn't pretty. With both ships damaged and under fire, James had to manually override the safety protocols. The magnetic clamps engaged with a harsh clang that echoed through his hull. Warning lights flashed across his console as the emergency airlock sealed between the two ships. James checked his combat suit's seals one last time. "Computer, maintain evasive maneuvers. Authorization read 7 Delta." The Star Runner's automated systems would keep them moving, making them harder to hit. He moved quickly through his ship to the emergency airlock. The door opened with a hiss of pressurized air, revealing the twisted metal corridor connecting to the alien vessel. Through the transparent sections, he could see the crystalline architecture of the other ship, beautiful despite the damage. Another hit rocked both ships. James stumbled but kept moving forward. The alien ship's airlock was sealed, but his suit's enhanced strength made short work of the manual override. The door slid open, revealing a corridor lit by faint, pulsing crystals. "Hello," he called out, his suit translating his words. "I'm here to help." He found the bridge quickly, following the emergency lighting. What he saw there made him stop in his tracks. A figure sat in the command chair, unlike any alien he had imagined. She appeared to be made of living crystal, her form elegant and almost human-like, but with skin that caught and reflected light like diamonds. She was injured. Blue liquid that must have been blood trickled from a wound on her forehead. "Stay back," she warned, holding what looked like a weapon. Despite her injury, her voice was steady. James raised his hand slowly. "I'm here to help," he repeated. "Those ships out there, they're still coming. We need to leave now." Another blast rocked the ship. The alien woman, clearly some kind of royalty based on her bearing, nearly fell. James moved quickly, catching her before she hit the deck. To his surprise, she felt warm to the touch, despite her crystalline appearance. "There's no time," he said urgently. "My ship is ready. We can save one other person from stasis, but we have to go now." She looked at him, her crystal eyes seeming to pierce right through his helmet's visor. Then she nodded, lowering her weapon. "Officer Bright," she said, pointing to a crystalline cocoon near the destroyed control panel. "We cannot leave him." James nodded. "I'll carry him. Can you walk?" "I am Princess Luna of the Crystal Empire," she said, standing despite her obvious pain. "I can walk." Together, they moved quickly through the failing ship, James carrying the stasis pod while Luna limped beside him. Behind them, the pursuing ships were closing in again, their weapons charging for what would surely be a killing blow. The race back to Star Runner had begun. Star Runner's medical bay hummed quietly as James treated Luna's wounds. The princess sat still on the examination table, watching with fascination as he used the ship's basic medical scanner to check her injuries. Officer Bright's stasis pod rested safely in the corner, its crystal surface pulsing with a steady blue light. "Your technology," Luna said, wincing slightly as James cleaned the cut on her forehead. "It's different from what we were taught about humans. We thought your species was primitive." James smiled as he applied the healing gel. "We get that a lot. Humans might not have crystal ships or energy weapons, but we're pretty good at making do with what we have." He checked the scanner again. "Your body structure is amazing. The crystal isn't just your skin, it's part of you." Luna nodded, her crystalline features catching the light. "My people evolved from crystal formations that gained consciousness. We learned to move, to think, to feel." She paused, studying James's face. "You're not afraid of me." "Should I be?" James asked, putting away the medical supplies. "You're not the strangest thing I've seen in space, though you might be the most interesting." A small smile crossed Luna's face, but it quickly faded. "My uncle, Lord Stone, he planned this coup for years. I never saw it coming. So many loyal people died protecting me." She looked at Officer Bright's stasis pod. "And now I'm here, breaking our most sacred law by making contact with humans." James pulled up a chair and sat across from her. "Tell me about it. What's happening in your empire?" Luna's story poured out. She told him about the Crystal Empire's rigid social structure, about how her uncle had always opposed her father's plans for reforms. Lord Stone believed in isolation and strength through purity. The idea of opening relations with other species, especially humans, had driven him to act. "The coup wasn't just about power," Luna explained. "It was about stopping change. My father disappeared 3 days ago. My uncle's forces struck soon after." Her crystal hands clenched. "I was touring the outer colonies. They thought I would be an easy target." James listened carefully, his military mind already analyzing the situation. "Your uncle underestimated you. And from what I saw of those ships, he underestimated humans too." "How did you do it?" Luna asked. "Your ship is smaller, less advanced, yet you evaded their best hunters." "Human ingenuity," James said with a slight grin. "We're good at improvising. Those magnetic particles I released, originally designed for cleaning space debris, works pretty well against fancy sensors too." Luna stood up, walking to the medical bay's window. Stars streaked by as Star Runner continued its evasive course. "All my life, I was taught that humans were dangerous because they were unpredictable. Now I see that's your strength." James joined her at the window. "Being predictable makes you easy to beat. Sometimes the best move is the one nobody expects." Luna turned to face him. Up close, James could see the complex patterns within her crystal form, like countless stars suspended in clear space. "Will you help me?" she asked. "I have no right to ask, but I need to get back. My people need me." Going up against an empire with just one small ship, James pretended to think about it. Impossible odds, deadly enemies, certain doom. He smiled. "Sounds like fun." For the first time since her rescue, Luna laughed. The sound was like chimes in the wind. The stories were right about one thing. Humans are quite mad. "Mad enough to save a crystal princess," James agreed. "Now let's figure out how to save your empire." As they began to plan, Luna found herself watching this strange human who had risked everything to save her. Perhaps, she thought, her father had been right. Perhaps it was time for the Crystal Empire to change. Behind them, Officer Bright's stasis pod continued its quiet pulse, marking time as two very different beings began to bridge the gap between their worlds. 3 Imperial ships coming out of light speed. Luna called from her position at Star Runner Sensor Station. She had learned the human ship systems surprisingly quickly. "They're trying to box us in." James's hands flew across the controls, sending the ship into a tight spiral. "They're persistent, I'll give them that." The ship shuddered as an energy beam passed close by. "Any chance those are friendly forces?" Luna checked the energy signatures. "No. Those are my uncle's elite hunters. They won't stop until—" She paused, her crystal features darkening. "Until they confirm my death." "Well then," James said, pulling the ship into a steep dive toward a nearby asteroid field. Let's keep disappointing them. The last 2 days had been a constant game of cat and mouse. Every time they thought they'd lost their pursuers, more Imperial ships would appear. Lord Stone was using every resource to hunt down his niece. Luna watched James guide the ship between massive rocks with impossible precision. Her people had always avoided asteroid fields, considering them too dangerous to navigate. But James seemed to treat the deadly obstacles like an advantage. "How are you doing this?" she asked, gripping her seat as they narrowly missed another collision. James grinned. "Old smuggler's trick. Big ships can't follow us in here. Their fancy targeting systems get confused by all the rock surfaces." He looked at her. "Want to learn?" Luna blinked in surprise. "You would teach me?" "Why not? Come here." He gestured to the co-pilot's seat. "Your technology might be more advanced, but sometimes the old ways work better." Luna moved to sit beside him, placing her crystalline hands on the secondary controls. James guided her through the basics, teaching her how to feel the ship's movements, how to read the debris patterns, how to use the chaos of space to their advantage. A warning alarm blared. 2 ships entering the field. Luna announced, "They're launching seeker drones." "Perfect timing for your first lesson," James said calmly. "See that large asteroid ahead? We're going to use it for a slingshot. Follow my lead." Together, they guided Star Runner toward the massive rock. The seeker drones followed, their advanced systems locked onto the ship's energy signature. At the last moment, James and Luna pulled up in perfect sync, using the asteroid's gravity to accelerate while the drones crashed into the surface. Luna laughed with excitement. "That was amazing. We never fly like this in the Empire. Everything is calculated, controlled. Sometimes you need to trust your instincts more than your computers," James said. Then he frowned at the radar. "Speaking of instincts, those ships are deploying something new." A strange energy field began to spread through the asteroid field. Where it touched the rocks, they began to glow with an eerie light. Luna's expression turned serious. "Crystal resonance field," she explained quickly. "They're trying to destabilize the asteroids. We need to get out of here now." James nodded, already plotting a course. "Any suggestions?" Luna studied the tactical display, then pointed to a narrow gap between 2 larger asteroid clusters. "There, the resonance field is weakest, if we time it right. We slip through while they're busy causing chaos," James finished. "I like it. Ready to fly." They worked in sync, Human and Crystal Princess, guiding their small ship through the disintegrating asteroid field. Behind them, the Imperial ship's weapon had backfired. The destabilized asteroids were creating a chain reaction that forced them to retreat. As they burst free of the field, Luna realized something had changed. She wasn't just a passenger anymore. She was part of this ship, part of this mission, part of this strange human's world. "James," she said softly, watching the stars streak by. "Thank you. Not just for saving me, but for showing me a different way." He glanced at her, his expression warm. "Thank you for trusting me. Now, let's see about getting you home." Star Runner soared through space, carrying its unlikely crew toward whatever destiny awaited them. Behind them, the asteroid field erupted in a spectacular display of crystal energy, marking another failed attempt to catch a princess who was learning to be free. Officer Bright's stasis pod hummed to life, the crystal surface dissolving to reveal the confused Imperial officer. Luna rushed to help him up while James stood back, giving them space but staying alert. "Your Highness." Bright blinked, his crystalline form shimmering as he regained full consciousness. We were attacked." "How?" His eyes fell on James, and he instantly moved to shield Luna. "A human. Your Highness. Get back." "It's okay," Luna said gently, placing a calming hand on her officer's shoulder. "James saved us. Without him, we would both be dead." She gestured around Star Runner's bridge. "He's been protecting us for days." Bright looked uncertain, years of Imperial training warring with the reality before him. Finally, he bowed slightly to James. Then, "I owe you my life, human." James nodded. "Just doing what's right. But now that you're awake, we could use your help." He activated the tactical display, showing a map of Crystal Empire space. Luna's been receiving coded messages from loyal forces. They're gathering to fight back against Lord Stone. Bright studied the display, his military training taking over. "These are emergency frequencies we established years ago. Your father's contingency plan, Your Highness." He never trusted Lord Stone. Luna's expression hardened. "My father knew. He tried to prepare us, and I didn't see it." She turned to James. "The loyal forces are gathering here, in the Outer Rim. It's our best chance to strike back." James zoomed in on the location. Heavy Imperial presence. Your uncle's not taking any chances. He highlighted several patrol routes. But there's a gap in their coverage. If we time it right, we could slip through. Bright finished, beginning to see why Luna had come to trust this human. "But Star Runner is just one ship. How can we make a difference?" Luna smiled. "By doing what humans do best, being unpredictable." She brought up schematics of Imperial ships. "I've been teaching James about our technology, and he's been teaching me about human tactics. Together, we have a plan." Over the next hour, they refined their strategy. Bright's knowledge of Imperial protocols filled in crucial details. James's combat experience helped them spot weaknesses in the Empire's defenses, and Luna's royal insights gave them the political angle they needed. "It's risky," Bright said finally. "If we fail." "If we fail, nothing changes," Luna replied firmly. "My uncle will continue his purge, and the Empire will become everything my father fought against." She looked at James. "But if we succeed, we can build something new, something better." James checked their weapons and shields one last time. "The question is, what happens after? Assuming we win, your people will know about humans. That can't be undone." Luna was quiet for a moment, looking out at the stars. When she turned back, her crystal features were set with determination. "Perhaps it's time. My uncle is wrong. Isolation doesn't make us stronger. It makes us brittle, unable to adapt." She gestured at Star Runner's bridge. "Look at what we've accomplished together in just a few days. Imagine what our peoples could learn from each other." Bright looked uncertain, but nodded. "The old ways are changing, whether we wish it or not. Better to guide that change than resist it." James smiled. "Well then, I guess we're starting a revolution." He reached for the ship's controls. "Course is set for the rendezvous point. Ready?" Luna took her place beside him at the co-pilot station, her movements now confident and sure. "Ready." "For the Empire," Bright said, taking his position at tactical. "For the future," Luna added softly. Star Runner's engines hummed to life, propelling them toward their destiny. As they prepared to jump to light speed, Luna glanced at James. In his eyes, she saw not just a warrior or an ally, but something more, something that made her heart beat faster despite the dangers ahead. The stars stretched into lines of light as they made the jump, carrying a human warrior, a crystal princess, and one loyal officer toward a battle that would change two civilizations forever. The Imperial Palace's crystal walls shook with explosions as the battle raged outside. Lord Stone stood at his command center, watching in disbelief as his carefully laid plans fell apart. The rebel ships, led by one small human vessel, had somehow breached his best defenses. "Impossible," he muttered, his crystalline form dark with rage. "They're using tactics we've never seen before." On Star Runner's bridge, James and Luna worked in perfect sync. Their small ship danced between the massive Imperial cruisers, causing chaos in their formations. Behind them, the loyal Imperial forces pressed their advantage. "Your uncle's ships are breaking formation," Bright reported from tactical. "They don't know how to handle irregular attack patterns." Luna smiled. Imperial commanders always expect enemies to follow standard combat protocols. She looked at James. They never planned for human creativity. James guided their ship through another complex maneuver, ready for the final push. Luna nodded, her crystal features set with determination. The palace shields are weakening. This is our chance. Star Runner dove toward the palace, leading a squadron of loyal ships. James's unorthodox tactics had inspired the Imperial pilots, teaching them to think beyond their rigid training. Now they flew like humans, unpredictable, adaptable, free. Lord Stone's voice boomed across all channels. You dare bring human filth into our sacred halls. You betray everything we are. No, Uncle, Luna responded, her voice strong and clear. You betrayed us. You betrayed my father's dream of a better future. She opened a broadcast to all ships. Look around you. See what we can accomplish when we work together, when we learn from others instead of fearing them. The palace shields flickered and died. James landed Star Runner in the main hangar, leaving Bright to coordinate the space battle. As they ran toward the throne room, loyal forces joined them, crystal warriors fighting alongside a human soldier. They found Lord Stone on his stolen throne, dark crystal guards around him. So, he sneered, the princess returns with her pet human. It's over, Luna declared. Your forces are defeated. Surrender. Never. Stone raised his weapon, firing at Luna. But James was faster, tackling her aside as loyal guards engaged Stone's forces. The throne room erupted in combat, crystal weapons flashing against human combat skills. James and Luna fought side by side, their movements perfectly coordinated after days of working together. His human adaptability complemented her crystal powers. Together, they were unstoppable. Finally, Lord Stone stood alone, his guards defeated. Kill me then, he spat. Prove how far our people have fallen. Luna stepped forward. No, you'll face justice properly. Our people will see the truth about your coup, about my father's disappearance, about everything. As royal guards took Stone away, cheers erupted throughout the palace. The coup was over. Luna had won. In the quiet aftermath, Luna found James packing his gear on Star Runner. You're leaving, she asked softly. James turned. The Empire needs you now. And I'm still just a human in forbidden space. What if you didn't have to be? Luna's crystal form seemed to glow with inner light. My first act as Empress will be to open diplomatic relations with Earth. We need an ambassador, someone who understands both worlds. James smiled. An ex-soldier turned salvage pilot as ambassador. No, Luna stepped closer. A hero who saved their princess. A bridge between our peoples. She took his hand. Someone I've grown to care for deeply. The Empire might not be ready, James warned. Then we'll help them be ready. Together. Luna's free hand touched his cheek. My father was right. Change isn't something to fear. It's something to embrace. James pulled her close. Well, when a crystal princess asks so nicely. Their kiss broke centuries of imperial law. But neither cared. Outside, human and crystal ships flew together in celebration, their lights painting the sky in a display of unity. In the end, a human warrior had not just saved a crystal princess. He had helped her save herself, her people, and their future. And in doing so, they had written a new chapter in the history of both their species, one that began with a distress call and ended with hope. The true adventure was just beginning.